way down.
I believe Mark Dankoff, you talked about the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, in your statements there. And Mark Malouf, that it has been stated, and this has caused quite an uproar in the United States, that this was basically the final nail in the coffin of democracy in the United States. I mean, what has brought about this act to be approved by President Obama? How did it come down to this? Some are saying, well, the United States has brought the war against terrorism in the home front.
Well, unfortunately, previous guest is correct that the president basically has a license to kill, even U.S. citizens, and without due process. This is extraordinary. It's something that needs to be condemned, needs to be brought out, but it's something that's basically overlooked in the United States, and even by the lawmakers who are too preoccupied with trying to get reelected. The reality is that crimes such as you exhibited in the video, there was nothing classified about that. Yet Manning is going to be crucified for having released that because it was classified, but classified against whom? Or so that who couldn't see it? So that the American people couldn't see it. It was very clear that it was like shooting fish in a barrel, and that. You had people doing actions and activities in which there was no clear threat recognized, and if that's being classified, what's the only threat to national security is the embarrassment that you have troops that have gone hog wild and are out of control. There is no more discipline as a consequence, and so. This is a further extension of what the president's now doing, I think, in being allowed to order executions of Americans who, just on the basis of some allegation of that there might be a linkage to terrorism, and this is really turning the United States into a pseudo police state, unfortunately.
John Parker, your thoughts on that, especially given the fact that you have this huge Occupy protest movement that is going on in the United States?
That's correct. Just wanted to say this is really nothing new. Nothing new at all since the dawn of imperialism in the late 1800s, around 1890, when they started with the killing of about over 3 million Filipinos during that illegal war. Against the Filipino population, the napalm used in Vietnam, the destruction of the infrastructure in Iraq, targeting civilians with the use of depleted uranium, white phosphorus in Fallujah, these dime weapons that they just developed, I guess, after 2006, the dense inert metal explosives, which are like tiny particles, dust particles that penetrate your organs. These are horrible weapons that they're using. They give to Israel to use in Gaza, and it's going on as we speak today. The killing of tens of thousands in Libya by the latest U.S. war. So these are crimes that are constantly being committed, and also a lot of, like the other speaker was saying, a lot of folks don't see this, but it's not because it's just happening now. Even without the Wikipedia leaks and things, this has been an ongoing, and it really shows the complicity of the corporate media in the United States, where they hide these things. Internationally, they're speaking about the hundreds of thousands of documents from Wikipedia. They're speaking about the war crimes of the past, but the U.S. media doesn't mention it because they hide it, just like they're trying to hide the Occupy movement today. Trying to keep it from being visible, especially during an election year. But this shows that we here in the United States have to do as much as we can to show support for Bradley Manning. And we congratulate the international community for showing that support, and also do what we can do to stop this and expose more and more of these things, which is nothing new. But as the United States economy and the global economy gets worse, we're going to see more and more of this, and we're going to have to step up and expose more and more and support those folks who are being heroic.
Mark Dankoff, Michael Malouf talked about the U.S. inching towards a police state. Some say it is already a police state. Do you agree? Give us some examples, and where do you see this going?
I think it's absolutely a police state, and this National Defense Authorization Act is but the latest thing.
And
you also have a situation, of course, you go back to the Patriot Acts.
Go ahead.
The Military Commissions Act of 2006. We have had the National Security Agency's illegal warrantless wiretap program exposed in recent years. So what you have is a circumstance where the same government that is acting unlawfully abroad and that continues to facilitate chief executives of the United States putting American troops into situations that have not involved congressional declarations of war and a clear case for the rationale of the war being made to the American people. This is the same government that is engaging in all kinds of things at home that are destroying civil liberties for people both left, center, and right, and that is progressively destroying the American economy for purposes related to the global elite, the global banking elite. That I certainly have argued has more power than anyone else in payrolling the American news media and the American government. And unfortunately, the United States military, it pains me to say this because I come from an Air Force family historically, but the United States military has become a surrogate force for evil in the world. And I'm afraid that this evil is about to consummate in a Benjamin Netanyahu, Avigdor Lieberman attack on Iran, which is totally unjustified and which both the Democratic and Republican parties, unfortunately, are about to put their imprimatur upon.
Michael Maloof, are we to conclude then that the U.S. has taken the path that it has in terms of exercising itself domestically, but even internationally, more so based on the, 650 military bases that they have, that here we are here militarily, you have to be afraid of us or else? Is that the type of approach and how the U.S. wants to be perceived?
Well, unfortunately, the United States, for the past decade, has had nothing but a history and has set an example of warfare. And that's all people have come to know us to be, are warmongers and fighters. Any place we go into, there's not a war today that's going on that we haven't liked. We just wrapped up a very tragic period in Iraq. We're still in Afghanistan. We couldn't resist Libya, and now we're talking about trying to get forces together to go into Syria. This is all that people this is why our influence as a government has really evaporated in terms of trying to demonstrate and give an example of democracy to the world. As Putin has said, if this is your example of democracy, we don't want it. And unfortunately, this is all that people now associate. We have a whole generation that's come up that's what they associate the United States with is armed conflict as an answer to any international problem. And we don't differentiate oftentimes between what is truly evil as opposed to what is a movement and the desires of people to bring about change. And it's oftentimes is then equated with acts of terrorism. We see this with the Hezbollah. We see this with Hamas. They're out there to protect their own people. They are resistance fighters. Yet the United States lumps them all in one little basket and calls them all terrorists. Therefore, they're all the enemy. Plus, the United States policy itself is in total lockstep with Israel today. And we can, even if we wanted to break free of that, we cannot because of the extraordinary lobby that exists in Congress that can cut off the funds of any administration that chooses to do otherwise.
Thank you very much.
The United States policy approach is really in jeopardy.
Thank you very much. Former Pentagon official Michael Maloof, we appreciate that. That's the end for this edition of the News Analysis. Also like to thank former U.S. Senate candidate Mark Dankoff from Texas and West Coast coordinator, International Action Center, John Parker from Los Angeles. Thank you, the viewer, for watching another edition of the Press TV News Analysis. Any questions or comments, suggestions, newsroom at presstv.ir. From me, Kaveh Tafway, and the entire team, it's goodbye.